here. Pretty soon I hope to be doing a different kind of video. I want to do a roleplay for Halloween. And I want to do a full body, actual, in-person recording it, Reiki session. But for today, I found some stories on Reddit because I know that is you guys' favorite. I don't personally understand it, but I am willing to read it. I apologize, I had to get a water. Alright guys, so this one is called Mom's Creepy Boyfriend. And I am a little bit, I read a bit of it. A lot of it seemed pretty scary, but just as a warning, if you are sensitive to anything involving someone being molested or raped or whatever. I'm not sure if that's in it, but I've seen some things that I'm not sure. So as I read it, I just want you to be aware. And then I have another one, and I'll tell you what that is after this one, okay? Okay, here we go. Okay, so my mother was always the attention-loving type. It was as if she never got enough love as a child, even though I loved my grandparents. She would be a completely different person after she left my father. She left my father and claimed that she was not happy and he was a mama's boy that never really could make a decision on his own. She claimed that his mother hated her, my grandmother, and did not want her to be happy, so she tried to sabotage my mother and my father's marriage. For my father's two sisters and 3 brothers, she did everything with her money because she was well off, buying them houses and not making them pay rent. She bought one of my aunts a house from the ground up at least 4 times that I can remember, in another state far, far away. But as for my father and my mother, she made them pay rent. She made sure that they're out to scrutinize the cleanliness of the house whenever she got the chance. I always loved my grandma because when my mom was around, she was super, super, super abusive. My father was indifferent. He didn't seem to notice or care. He was more worried about fishing and hunting and football. And he got lost in work and those things that he did not seem to care what our mother did. I have siblings, but I don't want to talk much about my siblings. So, basically, my mother had moved out, told my father she was getting a divorce. My father freaked out. He was very upset. He tried to win her back, but it was too late. she did not want to be with him anymore. And to be honest, he was a mama's boy, and my grandma was trying to sabotage their relationship. Every time my grandmother would get upset about something and cause a stink on purpose, she made my mother more abusive towards me and my siblings, which was very hard on us, and we always thought that my grandmother was a bitch. She compared us to our cousins, who she approved of much more. She told us that they were so great, while we were just, basically, in a passive-aggressive way, she said we were worthless, bad, not good enough. But when my parents were divorced, she was there for me the most. I was forced to see my mother after extensive counseling. She seemed to date the weirdest guys, and she dated a lot of them. They all said weird things to me. They all seemed like pedophiles that targeted a mother because she had children, which makes me question why she wanted to see me so many times after years of going without seeing me because I yelled at her and disagreed with her and wouldn't put up with her abuse anymore at 12 years old. Her one boyfriend, his name was Ed. He was super creepy. My mother worked the third shift at the Walmart, and she let Mike not work. Mike. Oh, sorry, I read ahead. Ed not work. Ed was on disability, but my mother also had many other boyfriends that I noticed she talked to. When Ed wasn't around, she would mention them on the internet back in the day, when there was a lot of Yahoo Messenger, AOL chat, if anybody even remembers. So one day I was just minding my own business, sitting in the living room, and my siblings were there, but they were playing in their room. Mike had come, and why do I keep saying Mike? Mike. Is his name Ed or Mike? I'm confused. I think they made a typo in here. Mike. It says Mike. So I don't know if it's an Ed or a Mike and his middle name's Ed, or Ed and his middle name's Mike. So I'll just go with Mike, okay? Because that's what it says. There's like a typo. I was minding my own business, and Mike came and sat next to me while my mother was gone at the store. He said to me, "You're old enough. What do you like to do?" which threw me off pretty quick. Wishing my mom would hurry up and get home so I didn't have to be through these awkward situations, I asked him, "Why would you say something like that?" And he said, "Well, I like you. And I like you in a way that I don't like many other kids, including your siblings." And he said, "I was just wondering, are you sad from this divorce? Are you angry with anyone? I just want you to feel comfortable around me." And I thought to myself, how am I supposed to feel comfortable after what you just said? Still wishing my mother would come home because he literally sat right next to me on the couch while there were 2 other couches and plenty of room to sit at. He decided to sit right next to me and talk about, have you ever seen a dead body, or do you like dead bodies? And I just felt so uncomfortable. He said, he continued to awkwardly talk as if he was not used to human interaction, which made me wonder, how did my mother not notice this, or does she like this? And it says Mike again, so I'm just going to keep going with the name Mike. Mike said, in an awkward way, "When I was your age, I was very lonely myself, so I feel like I can relate to you. I heard you don't have many friends in school. I heard you have to go see a psychologist. Those are the worst. They ask you all these questions as if they care, but they don't really care. They don't do anything to actually help you. And if you told them how you really felt, they would get upset. They would go and report you, and then you could end up in a very bad place." This alarmed me extremely, and I was starting to worry about the fact that my siblings lived here and that my mother was dating this idiot. Especially since she still talked to other men, I wondered what that would do if he found out. So I said, "I'm not really clear on what you're talking about. I apologize. But what do you mean talking to the counselor was bad, and what do you mean by everything you just said?" And he said, "Oh, I think you know. I think you know. I think you know. Don't be afraid around me. I know. I can tell when someone is just like me." And I said, "Well, I'm not sure what you mean. I really don't know what you mean. Is there any way we could call my mother?" Because I didn't have a cell phone at the time. "Is there any way we could call my mother and see where she is?" He said, "She's probably still pretty far away, seeing as it takes a while to get to Walmart from where we live in the county versus Walmart being in the city." I felt very scared and very trapped, but I thought to myself, you know what, at some point, I think I could fight back. My siblings are here. My mother will come back at some point, and if not, I can scream really loud. But at that point, Mike just said, "I never had good experiences with counselors. What I told them about things that I felt and things that I had done, they put me away for a while. Don't go telling your mother. I'm sorry to say, though, I don't think your mother would mind." I said, "What do you mean you don't think my mother would mind?" He said, "Well, your mother doesn't seem to care too much. She has very low standards, doesn't explained what you meant, and it is very open to interpretation. You see, I was very good in English, and I was a very articulate child, and I think that threw him aback, because he expected me to be weak and like a child, like a pedophile would, which I really was starting to believe he was a pedophile. So I told him, I don't feel comfortable with this conversation. And he said, just talk to me a little more. Just talk to me a little more. Let me tell you a little bit more about me if you're interested. And I was like, I don't know if I'm really that interested. I'm sorry. He said, well, you know what? Fine then. You want to be that way? I can make your life a living hell. Or I can be your best friend. You can be my little buddy. Maybe even more, which sounded in a sexual tone. Or you can be my worst enemy, my little play toy. And you don't want to be my play toy. And I said, you shouldn't say things like that to me. I could tell my counselor, remember? I could tell my grandmother, and I could tell my father. And he said, they won't believe you anyways. Trust me. Just trust me. And don't forget, when you're gone, I live with your mother. And I live with your siblings. I was so creeped out, I didn't know what to do, so I decided I better play nice with them. For the sake of my siblings, my mother, if she was into this, then she deserved it. But my siblings didn't, and I didn't know what else to do or how long it would take for my mother to get home. So I tried to play nice, and I said, well, could you at least elaborate what you meant by saying bad things to the counselor? And them not taking it the right way. I'm sorry if I got your story a little mixed up. I'm kind of confused. Everything is a little confusing for me, I guess. And he said, I'll clarify for you if you promise. You promise. You promise not to mention it to anyone. Do you think that you can do that? I said, in a reluctant voice, I realized that this was my best chance of getting to know this guy for real, and it was important in order to protect my siblings. So I said, yes, I promise. He said, what are you going to do to show me that you promise? Do you want to show me that you're serious so that I can believe you? And I said, what do you want from me? He said, just lift up your shirt and let me see. I said that I'm too young, and that makes me very uncomfortable. He said, do you want to prove to me or not? I said, okay. So I did it. And he said, alright, what a good girl, good girl. He patted my head like I was some kind of a dog. He said, your siblings will be safe for now. He said, but I'm gonna tell you something. Let's see how truthful you are. See if you tell anyone what I tell you. So I said, okay. He said, when I told, I was a very angry boy. I always been an angry boy. I love my parents and I'm an only child, but I've been an angry boy. I have no reason to feel the way that I feel, but I just do. And my parents didn't think I was good. They never thought I was good. So they sent me to a counselor. The counselor asked me a lot of questions and tricked me into telling me what I really felt and what I really think. And I had a hobby. Of torturing, well, what she called torturing animals. I called it science. She called it torture. I would find bunnies and I would keep them locked in cages, starving them, because I was curious what they look like when they didn't eat. I would do it with any animal I could catch. Snake, mouse, squirrel. I had all the traps, and my parents lived on a lot of land. I felt like this is something they do in high school. What's wrong if I do it? I would starve them for at least a week if they survived, and then I would dissect them around a fire pit in the backyard, and I would throw their remains in the fire. Mind you, they were still alive, but I just wanted to see the reaction. That's all I wanted to see. I wasn't trying to be evil or anything. It's just nature for children to be curious, isn't it? He looked at me like he wanted to know if that's how I felt. And that wasn't how I felt, but I felt like he wanted me. He wanted me to be his little pet. He wanted me to be his little toy or whatever. He was a pedophile, but not just a pedophile. A creepy pedophile. So I went ahead and I told him. I said, yeah, sure, that's totally, stuff being my friends. Back when I had more friends, that's totally something we would do. We wouldn't starve them, but we would probably maybe dissect them or something. I remember we used to dissect big crickets, and we used to burn them with fire. I lied. My friends did, but I never did, and I thought it was really disturbing. But I had to relate to him somehow because I didn't know what he was thinking, and I was terrified. And he said, yes, yeah, that's a good girl. That's a good girl. Don't you ever be afraid of being curious. He said, now what about people? Have you ever thought about that? You should have seen the animals when they were starving, and when I cut them open, the way their bodies were so hungry. They felt already sick and tortured, and I cut them open and I made it so that they were even more hungry and they were even more in pain. I said, that's really interesting. I would have never thought to have done something like that. Did any of your friends do it with you? And he said, no. No. Just me. And my parents took me to a counselor, and she tricked me like she was my friend into saying what I did and how I felt about living things, and it ended up sparking a curiosity in humans. I always wanted to try it on a human. What do you think about that? Do you think it'd be interesting to see on a human? I didn't know what to say. I was at a loss. I really didn't know what to say. If I disagree, is he gonna get mad? If I agree, is my mom gonna be home at any point? For gosh sakes, where the heck is she? Mom, of all times you could let me down. Where are you? My siblings still playing in the other room. And I said, you know what? I thought in my head, okay, you know what? I need to can tell my father, I can tell my counselor, I can tell whoever I need to tell to protect my siblings and to make sure that he gets put away. Whether anyone believes me or not, I refuse to ever come near him again, and I refuse to be afraid of him the rest of my life. I refuse. I need to get through this moment. So, he said, I said yes. I said yes. I have had that curiosity. I've often wondered. And he said, well, can you prove to me that that was your curiosity? Can you prove that that's what you really wanted? Can you prove to me that you, like me, want to see the same things that I see? And I said, how do you want me to prove it to you? I started to almost cry, but I tried not to stay strong for my siblings. He said, well, you can always prove it to me. Why don't you think of a way? And I said, I really don't know. Is there anything I can do to prove it? What do you want me to do to prove it? And do you know how much longer my mom's gonna be? He said, why don't you check something out with me while we're waiting for your mom? Why don't we check something out? I know a lot about you, your mother told me. And based off of what she told me, I can tell that you probably have. And based off of, previous interactions over the phone, I can tell that you really don't feel too good about your mother. You really don't like her. I said, no, I really don't approve of how she's acted, and I really don't like how she is, but she is my mother, so the counselor wants me to come see her. And he said, okay, well, I think I know a way you can prove it to me, and I think I know a way, something that'll make you, pretty happy. So I said, okay, not thinking. I was wondering in my head, just going nuts. Thankful that my siblings were in the other room playing, but I wish I could get to them so that I could tell them to run and go find someone or to call or do something, find out where her mom was, get her butt home. So I decided to ask him before he wanted to show me what he wanted to show me, because I had no clue what it was, and he was really creeping me out. I asked him, I'm like a big sibling to my younger siblings. Do you mind if I go check on them and just let them know that we're leaving for a second in case they come looking and they know my mom's not home and then we're gone? I just want to be a good sibling, that's all. And he said, that's pretty impressive. I never got to be a sibling, so you know what? Why don't you go ahead and do that? It's good for them to know. Because after this, you're gonna want them to know. You're gonna love what I have to show you, I think. I think I know you a lot better than you think you know. So I said, okay. And I followed him to I went into their room, and he stood by the corner. I asked him if he could get me a water and possibly a snack. And he said, okay. So then I was able to sneak in my siblings' room, and they were both playing. I told them, you guys need to get a hold of the police. If anything, sneak out a window, call the police, get a hold of her mom, but most importantly, call the police. And if they ask you what's wrong, say your sibling told you to tell. I don't want to say if I'm their brother or sister or whatever, but so tell them your sibling told you to call and to look for you. I don't know where he's taking me, but he's a creep, and they agreed that he was a creep. So, and they were wondering what took Mom so long, because she was never really gone that long when she went to the store. And she worked third shift You need to do this, and you need to act like everything's normal, okay? No matter how scared you get, act like everything's normal. Just agree with him and act like everything's normal. So then I gave them a hug and a kiss as he walked into the room, trying to catch me saying something or, spying to see what I was doing. And he said, "Oh, how sweet. I wonder how you really feel about them." And I said, "Oh, yeah, well, they're my siblings, so, sibling love." And he said, "We'll see." So then he said, "Let's go. Let me show you a place, kiddo. It's my special place." So, outside of the apartments where my mom lived, which was out in the county, and there was a lot of woods around them, surprisingly, around the woods around the apartment. Sorry, I'm having trouble reading my contacts. And he said, "We're gonna go for a little walk. Isn't it a beautiful day? Don't you just love the woods?" And I actually did. So I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna show you something that you're gonna be really excited about." And I assumed that he had found some animals, starved them, and was going to have me help him dissect them, which really disturbed me, so I was glad I got to tell my siblings to call the cops. We wound up walking down this road that seemed like a driveway, but it was such a long driveway, and we didn't go down the driveway. We went off the path onto the person's property, which looked pretty big, at least 40 acres or more. And we ended up walking to an area, and eventually we got to a spot where there were 4 trees and an empty spot in the 4 trees. I noticed that he had like a box that looked like a coffin, but I assumed it was just a box. I didn't really think like, okay, this guy's really gonna do something like kill someone. So I just kept praying in my head, "Please, little brothers and sisters, please call the cops, and Mom, please get home, please get home, please get home." And I was terrified out of my mind. And he said, "Are you ready to see what's in the box?" And his voice sounded like he was trying to be a child, and he sounded so sinister. I couldn't understand how my mom would even talk to a man like this. The look on his face almost looked like he wasn't human. His face and his smile went from ear to ear, almost like if you were to open his mouth, it would be so big it could swallow your whole head, or a baby's head. So I was like, I'm ready to see what's in the box. We're friends, right? I asked him because I was so terrified that he was going to hurt me. I wanted to make sure that we were friends and that whatever was in that box, animal or whatever, I was beginning to think possibly even a human. But whatever it was, that he would not do the same to me, and my sister and brother could get away as fast as possible. So then he had a process for opening the box, and it was far enough on someone's property where I don't think it would have been found unless if the person actively pursued every part of their property. When he started to open it, I really started to notice a horrible smell, and I knew it was the smell of death. The nasty, disgusting smell of death. And I began to get really scared. I started to freak out and almost have a panic attack. I wanted to cry. I wanted to run. I wanted to go and save my little siblings. I wanted to go and call the cops. I wanted to get away from him. But he was sinister. He was not just a pedophile. He was more. When he opened the box, I breathed like this. And he was talking like a child. "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" respect you. And he said, that depends. Are you going to be faithful? Are you going to be my friend and my girlfriend? Or are you gonna try to run? Run! And he said it very, very creepily. And I said, no, I won't run. Just please don't hurt me. Just please don't hurt me. And he said, you don't sound like you're being genuine. You don't sound like you're being genuine. But we'll see what happens. Alright. So then he opens the box after so many latches on it. And it looked like a coffin, like I said. And the latches, and the more he opened it, the more the smell just grew and grew. It was a dead body. It was a dead body. I closed my eyes as he opened the casket. I didn't want to see what was in it. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see it. And he said, open up your eyes. Open up your eyes. You told me you like this. You told me you were my friend. You're my girlfriend. You. I went out of my way to try to be with you, to try to understand you. Now you are going to be with me, and you're going to be okay. And I opened up my eyes, and I saw my mother, what was my mother, decaying in a box. I asked myself, how did my siblings not know this? How did they not know that she was gone for so long? Was he really there watching them? What did he do while they were asleep? But then I remembered that my sisters and brother had just, my little sister and brother had just come back from my grandma and grandpa's on my mom's side. So they were just playing, waiting for my mom, just like I was when my dad dropped me off. I started breathing and I was like, what is that? What is that? And he said, what does it look like? I know how much you hate her. I know how much she beat you. She is too old for me. You're the one for me. What do you think? Do you like what I did? And I said, the words wouldn't come out of my mouth, but I knew I had to in order to survive, praying that my little sister and brother were able to call the cops or someone and get the hell out of there. Get the hell out of there. And now all I had to do was figure out me, as long as they did what they were supposed to. I couldn't get the words out, and he said, oh, you like it so much you're speechless. I know. It takes some getting used to, doesn't it? It takes some getting used to. But I will help you, and I will teach you, and we can do this together. I have a few other people I want to take care of, and I know there's more in your family that you're not happy about. You don't have to be unhappy anymore. We can take care of it. We can eliminate it. And then we can run off together, as long as you be a good little girl and do what I say. Then you will survive. And you won't become like your mommy here. Your mommy. He spit on her grave. He spit on her. And he said, boy, she is gross. I don't even think I'm going to dissect this one, but I do know what we're gonna do. We're gonna bury her, or we're gonna feed her to a pig farm that's not too far from here. And I said, how are we gonna get there? I couldn't stop stuttering. And he was like, oh, we will get there. Don't you worry. I'm an adult, but I'm a kid, so I can do what adults do. I got something to put her in. I got a pickup truck, and we'll get her to that pig farm, and there'll never be any evidence unless if they get it real quick that she's dead. And I said, how so? Being a child and not knowing. He said, well, pigs can completely digest, but it comes out in their poop if they're caught too soon. I didn't know if it was true or not, but I was terrified because I wanted my mother to be found. Despite our differences, despite what she had done, I didn't wish this upon anyone. Never. And he looked sinister, as if he did some kind of devil worshipping. And I didn't know what to do. I was afraid to run because I felt like I was too small and he would catch me. And I didn't know if he didn't catch me, if he would go back and he would get my brother and my sister. So I breathed and I said, okay, so how do we do this? This is kind of heavy for someone my age and my size, don't you think? And he said, yeah, you're right. He said, I think she can stay here another night. Yeah, I think she can stay here another night. Maybe I can do it on my own in the dark. I just got to get something to hook up to this wooden box and I'll drag her out of here and I'll put her in the back and then I'll go feed her to those pigs. I know the farmer pretty well and I know when he's around, when he's not around, so I can do this. I can do this, don't you worry, my love. He started calling me his love. I was absolutely disgusted. So, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I didn't even know what I could do. And if the cops did come, like I told my little brother and sister to do, what if they put on their sirens and he heard them? Shoot. I was like, okay, so you're gonna take care of it. That's awesome. I don't think I can do it. I really don't, because I just don't think I'm strong enough. And you're stronger than me, so would you please do it for me? And he said, oh, my sweet love, we are going to do so much together. And I'm going to take you away from here, change your name. I'm going to pretend that you're my daughter. And I'm going to make sure that you get to do everything with me. All the dissecting, all the starving, the things that we are curious about. He said in such a weird way, like he was Pennywise the clown or some creepy grown man that wanted to sound like a child. So then I was like, okay, that's good. We started walking back through the woods and I didn't know where the trail was, but we were getting closer, I figured, and it was someone's property, so I figured, yeah, the trail to the driveway, basically, the driveway should be coming up soon. We got closer and closer, and he said, I like you so much. He just kept on saying it. I like you so much. I want to be with you. I like you so much. You're so perfect for me. I knew it from the moment I saw you, and I even got your mother to like me. I feel so good about myself that I was able to get your mother to like me. It made a sick feeling in my stomach, and I couldn't take it anymore. But all of a sudden, it just got worse. My running skills were about to be tested. I heard sirens, and he said, "What's that?" And I said, "I don't know. I think it's sirens. Do you think something happened?" He said, "Did you call the cops on me?" I said, "Well, I've been here with you. How would I call the cops? And my little brother and sister aren't smart enough to call the cops. They're just in there playing and getting into mischief. I don't know how the cops would get called. It must be something else, really." I tried to convince him with all my might that it must have been something else. It must have been something else. He said, "Well, I don't know that." He said, "You need to walk ahead of me, and if you end up talking to them, you need to tell them you were just playing in the woods, and you don't know where your mom went, but do not not mention me." hand. And his teeth looked so pointy all of a sudden. That smile was just as bad when he was angry. So I said, yes, I won't say anything. Why don't I run ahead instead of walking? That way we can just get this over with and we know it's not what you think it is. I know that the cops wouldn't be coming. I mean, it's probably something else. I mean, when you live in an apartment building, things happen. And he said, well, I don't want you to run, but I want you to walk at least a couple of feet ahead of me. So I did, and I walked as fast as I could. He told me to slow down because I was getting too fast, and he was trying to keep up, but he seemed weak for some reason. So I told him, I said, I'm trying to slow down, I'm just so anxious. I just want to get this over with and make sure it's not them, so that we can have more fun together. And he said, alright, well, just don't lose me. And I kept on walking faster and faster while he tripped and fell over a stump. And we were on, and I seen the gravel driveway. So I started to run, and I ran like hell. I ran on the gravel driveway, and I knew where it led to. It led to the apartments, and it led to where there were more people, and there could possibly be cops, I heard. I didn't hear sirens anymore, but I figured that someone must be there. Something's gotta happen, and if not, I'll go bang on every door that I can. I will go bang on every door. So I ran and I ran and I ran, and he couldn't keep up. He tripped, and he must have hurt himself. He must have done something. He was much older. He was in his 40s. Not that 40 is old, but he had some issues. It seemed like he had a knee problem or got injured at some point during a working or a career or something like that. So I ran and I ran and I ran and I ran and I ran. And when I got there, luckily there were cops still waiting, and my little brother and sister were there. And I said, oh, thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God. When I got to the cops, I fell to my knees. I was in shock. I was scared, so scared. But I was so glad that my brother and sister were okay. I gave them hugs, and I said, we have to get out of here. You guys cannot let us stay here. You cannot let us. Please, please, please help us. And they tried to get me to calm down, and I told them the whole story. And they said, what is his name? And I said, well, I thought it was Ed, but then he said Mike. Okay, that makes sense. So that's why it was a typo, because she mentioned, or I think it's a she, mentioned Ed in the first place, and then Mike. So it's almost like the author knew that this person didn't give a real name. And the kids, my siblings, they said that guy had only been over here one other time, and then he showed up before we got back to Grandma's. I guess he was spending time with Mom, and he was there. He told us to go play in our rooms and to behave like good little kids. He said that our sister was coming, and he was going to get to know her and spend some time with her while we were waiting for Mom to come back from the store. He told us that she was having car troubles. I said, well, he never mentioned that to me. And then I told the cops and my siblings everything that was said. My siblings wanted to know just as much as the cops did, and the cops allowed it. So then they called my father, they called my grandparents, and they called so much more, but they sent out a search party for the man. They did not find him, not right away at least. They found my mother's dead body in the casket, wooden casket looking thing, completely, disgustingly decaying, whatever you want to call it. And they eventually did find him, and he was hiding somewhere. It turns out that he was on drugs, and he was also very schizophrenic. I do not want to bash on anyone with mental illness, as I have a lot of that in my family. However, this was very scary for me, and he had admitted to me that he had done this before with animals. So I told the police that, and they looked into it and found that he actually may have been a part of some murders that involved humans, some very old murders that were considered cold files. So I was terrified from that day forward. I lost my mother, I had my siblings, we all had to go live with my grandparents, and I lived with my dad and my older sibling. And at that point, I was glad that I didn't have a mother who would just date any man anymore. But I was so scared, and a part of me was sad growing up without a mother. But I will never be able to shake being around that man, the feeling I got around him, the things that he said, the things that he did, the fact that I almost became one of his victims if I didn't say the right thing. And I don't even know if the right thing would have prevented him from making me one of his victims. To this day, I am so scared. It has taken a lot of counseling and some medication to get over this. I took martial arts to try to learn to protect myself. I do everything I can to try to protect myself, but I also worry about my siblings and my father, just in case. But at least I'm trying to do things to make it so that it's all better. So, those of you who have a mother who dates a lot of men, be super careful and always speak up. Always speak up. If she wants you to meet a man, vice versa with the father. But if she wants you to meet a man, make sure to let her know or someone know that you do not want to meet someone right away. That's the only advice I can get. And for mothers, do not bring your children around someone you just met. That is irresponsible, and you do not know them. If you need love that bad, you should learn to love yourself. And that is all I have to say. Have my horror story. I hope you all will be safe and careful, especially the parents out there. Alright, so that one really creeped me out because this is a common thing nowadays, parents dating people, and a lot of times, especially something I learned when I was going for my degrees in criminal justice, is pedophiles target mothers. They look for mothers with children and they target that. So, keep that in mind, that this story does have a lot